All right, guys. This is the Unscripted Sports Takes podcast. Um, got a good slate for you guys today. It's mainly the NFL and the NBA. Obviously, the NBA. We'll start by talking about the All-Star game, and then go into our power rankings and stuff like that. So, first, let's just get right into it. Since the All-Star game just happened, um, we obviously did you watch the All-Star game, Brett?
I didn't watch it live. I did go back and watch like the first half.
Right.
And
So
it was bad.
it was. I mean, it was like 200. They had like 211 points. Um, I forget the West. I think it was the East. But
Yeah.
you know, watching that game, it makes me hate the All Star Weekend. Like that was terrible, terrible. Um, there was a lot of talk of how to make it more competitive. Obviously, the in season tournament was competitive because of the money. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that's the best way to do it. Put like 250,000 on whoever wins. Each player gets that, or
Yeah.
100,000 or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
I also saw a thing. It was like make it like the NBA MLB All Star Game. In the MLB All Star Game, they actually whoever wins, whoever in the World Series, they have that whoever conference they come from, they have home field advantage.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Um.
that's how the MLB. That's why they take it so serious. But what do you think?
I think it's it's tough because in that scenario, there's definitely guys on all-star teams that know their team's not going to make it to the finals.
Right.
So they could definitely sandbag and just be like, "Screw you guys!" Like,
Right.
you know what I
And
mean?
I think the MLB is different than the NBA. Like
Yeah,
MLB, any team can make the World Series. Like obviously, some
yeah,
teams have better teams, but um, you know, and I think the NBA. I don't know if this kind of sounds weird, but I think a lot of those players are a lot more selfish. Like they would take the money more than home field advantage. Like it wouldn't matter that much. In
yeah,
MLB, it does matter. Like obviously the statistics and everything show that home games matter. Obviously, it matters in every sport, but um, I think money is the best way to get these players to not jack around. Like Luca, and
hmm,
um, he didn't care the whole time. Like you could tell. So and
yeah,
that's what the point of the All Star game is to watch all these good players play well against each other. That's the point. So
yeah. I think they kind of just need to rework the entire All Star weekend,
right.
like the 3-point contest, the dunk. Like, did you watch the skills challenge at all?
I did not. I watched the
It
highlights or whatever.
was like you could tell none of them tried. Like Anthony Edwards legitimately just tried to do the whole thing left-handed,
Right.
and it didn't work. Like it doesn't. It's just I understand these guys don't want to get hurt,
Right.
um, but also you got to think of the fans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like the load management. Like, there's people there that have, like paid a lot of money to see you play.
And
So like, why not?
they barely even played. Like
Yeah,
it was it was boring almost. So and I understand that they they had a lot of fun and everything, but
hmm,
it is kind of not fun to watch. Like, why even? I don't know. Why even have an All Star weekend? And also, I mean, I know this isn't on our topics today, but the dunk contest was terrible.
oh yeah,
I think that they could change. And Adam Silver's really good at. Oh, we can't do that. Like the load management thing. Obviously, he like I saw on ESPN. He said when the analyst said, how to change the All Star game is to present money because obviously from the load management perspective, they started finding people, um,
yeah,
and that changed the load management. Like they're not going to take a fine. Like it's all about money.
yeah,
Everyone loves money. So, um, that's in my opinion the way to fix it. Also, like how to fix the dunk contest, like what I was talking about. you know, you can have the dunk contest, but a skills challenge, the people aren't going to take that very serious. Like you were
Yeah.
talking about, Anthony
No.
Edwards going let in the whole time. I think a one-on-one competition for money or
Yeah.
one-on-one competition for like charity or something, I think that would be awesome to go like right behind the three-point contest. Because obviously, a three-point
Yeah.
contest is really good to watch. Like that's the only reason some people watch. Um, so, and I really like how they did the Steph and Sabrina. I thought that was really good too. But that's a different top.
Yeah. I know some people were complaining that she wasn't shooting from the women's line.
Right.
She was shooting from the NBA line. So
I think it would have been close if super close, a lot closer. I mean, he only won by like three
yeah.
shots, but
Yeah.
um, still, I think it would have been like she might have beat him. But
Probably yeah.
so moving on, and we're still talking about the All Star team. Was the West? I saw this on Instagram, and I thought it'd be cool to talk about. Was the West All Star team all future Hall of Famers? Um, I'll just name a couple: Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Karl-Anthony Towns, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Jokic, Paul George, SGA, and Steph Curry. Do you, in your mind, think that those are all um, future Hall of Famers?
Um. No, I don't think so.
Who do you
I think
think is not on the list right now?
Anthony Edwards,
Right.
just because he's only in his third year.
Yeah.
Um. And then I don't think Carl Anthony Towns.
Yeah. That's the one thing I was like. I think Anthony Edwards is really young, so you can't really um, tell how he's gonna go. I mean, he's really good, really
Yeah.
young, good young player. The Timberwolves are gonna be pretty good, record wise for the next 5 to 8 years, or 5 to 9 years, or
Yeah.
8 to 9 years. Sorry, and but Karl Anthony Towns, I don't think he has what it takes to win a national or to win a finals. Um,
Yeah.
from a defensive perspective, um, but that's just my opinion. I'm not to hate on Cat. He's really good. Obviously, an All Star. He's really good
Yeah.
for his team. But I think he's the only one besides maybe SGA. But SGA is playing well right now. He's
Yeah.
probably gonna get probably gonna get the scoring title behind Luca. But
Yeah.
so that would
And
those would be my two people that I would be kind of worried about for those West All Stars. But
yeah, and there's also an argument like Paul George might not make it in.
yeah.
Um,
What do you think
but I
he
think
obviously he needs if he wins the finals, he's definitely a Hall of Famer, don't you think?
yeah, for sure.
Right.
I just think his prime was just so short.
Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of like, you know, he got hurt and then he's been hurt and hurt and hurt and hasn't really
yeah,
played because of load management. So I think we're talking about load management. I think he has definitely suffered from that. Um, just Hall of Fame wise, I'm sure he doesn't really care. Um, but just talking about this topic, that's gonna load management is gonna stop him from making the Hall of Fame because he didn't play very much the last two
yeah,
years. Obviously he's been hurt, but I would agree that his prime is very small. So it's kind of hard to put him in a spot like Jokic or Steph Curry. Obviously Steph Curry is a different level, but
yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah, I would see that. I would see that. All right. Still talking about the NBA. I kind of like we kind of like talking. Me and you kind of like talking about NBA power rankings. I like to send them to you on Instagram and everything. And I thought it would be a good idea to talk about our own. So you know
mhm,
NBA power rankings top five. We'll do mine first, and then we'll do yours. Number one for me, I have the Thunder. Um, you might not like that because I know who your number one is, but not the best record in the NBA right now. Obviously behind the Celtics. Um, but depth, I think I kind of took it from a playoffs perspective. Um, their depth is so deep. Their bench is so deep. Um, obviously SGA is playing at a MVP level. I think he's kind of my pick for MVP. Um, 31 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He's playing like a great point guard and a great leader. They also have Williams who plays well. Chet plays well. Chet averages like 16 points a game. Williams averages like 20. And then they have Dort who comes off the bench, and they have all these players that come off the bench. They also got Hayward that we talked about last week. I think that this is the best lineup in the NBA. Obviously, they're young, so when you're thinking about it from a playoff perspective, they might suffer to like the teams like the Clippers. They might not play each other, but teams like the Clippers.
Yeah.
The Celtics are a little bit older than the Thunder, but this team is a team to watch. The Thunder is a team to watch. They're my number one. Number two, I put the Celtics. Another team that's really deep, and they have one of the best starting fives in the NBA. Derek White averaging 20. Jason Tatum averaging, well, I think it was 26 or something. And then
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown. I think for them to be number one in my spot, Jason Tatum has to go off. He has to play like an MVP
Yeah.
the last
Yeah.
second half of the season. Um, he said he just talked about being the face of the NBA. I think he has to be the face of the Celtics this second half of the season. And then my favorite team is number three. My favorite team right now in this season is the Clippers. I think that I know we kind of talked about this off podcast, but they're my favorite team to win the finals. They're my favorite. I think they play well. I think they're deep. I think they're old enough to win games in the finals. They had two All Stars. Kawhi Leonard is playing like an MVP. Paul George is playing. They're playing great defense. I think they are dangerous, especially to the Thunder. I think this team could beat the Thunder in a 7-game series. Number four for me is the Timberwolves. I kind of put them on there. I'm kind of a hater of the Timberwolves. I don't think that they're as good as as their record says. Their depth isn't very good. I think Anthony Edwards, kind of like Jason Tatum, he's got to play at a top, MVP level for them to win the playoffs, or for them to win in the playoffs. Um, you know, I think they lose to the Thunder in five games out of 7. Um, and it's kind of hard to play a super big lineup in the NBA. Obviously, it's a different matchup, but for
Yeah.
all the other teams. But I think it's super hard to play Rudy Gobert and Cat and
Yeah.
play as fast as you need to play in this NBA. And then number 5, I put the Cavs. They won like 13 in a row last month or something like that. And the Donovan Mitchell is playing at a top MVP level. I know they lost last night because they didn't have him, but if they had him, they had 5 players score 18 plus. Not even counting, like if he was there, he'd score 30. So,
Yeah.
very deep. Deep in the backcourt. Got a lot of big guys. Deep in the front court, got Donovan Mitchell. Um, another All-Star, Karis LeVert. I forgot his other name. Darius Garland. They have him too, and he's averaging 20. I think it's a deep team, and they got playmakers and shooters everywhere. So that's my top 5. Um,
Yeah.
but go ahead with yours.
It's so for mine, number one's the Celtics. I
Right.
think they have the experience of making deep playoff runs, and I think one crucial move they made this offseason was getting Drew Holiday, a
Yeah.
guy who has won the finals and knows what it takes to win the finals. Um, and I think he's kind of been like a great glue guy
Right.
for the Celtics. And I mean, they're top 2 in offensive rating or offensive efficiency and net rating.
Yep.
Um, and defensively, they're a really cohesive team. You don't really see them make a lot of um, like mistakes, like communication wise.
Yep.
They're usually always on the same page. Um, only thing about them that concerns me is if they play a team with a higher pace. Um, I could see that causing some trouble for the Celtics. But number 2, I I have I've got the Clippers. Um, like you said, they're a strong defensive team. Um, they've got a lot of vets. They've got again championship experience.
Right.
Um, and they've got multiple All Stars. So um, three, I'd probably have to go with. Um, I'd go with the Thunder. SGA, he's balling out. The only thing that concerns me about them is they do run a lot of ISO ball through SGA.
Right.
So again, if they were to face a team like the Clippers that are strong defensively, or a team that plays a lot faster, it'll be tough. It'll be a tough matchup.
Yep.
And then four, I'd probably go with the Cavs. I Donovan Mitchell is playing out of his mind.
Yep.
But even when he's gone, Darius Garland takes over. They've got good depth too, because they've got shooters like Max Struss,
Right.
George Niang, um, and they've got Karis LeVert, which you never know when he's gonna like put up 30 or like 12.
Right.
Um, but then five, I would probably go with the Timberwolves. Um, they're another strong defensive team. Um, but like you said, that tall lineup, like Rudy Gobert doesn't offer you anything offensively,
Right.
especially on that team. Um, and he constricts the floor so much more with his lack of ability to shoot.
Yep.
Um, so it'll be tough. I don't think. Yeah, and another thing is their depth. All they really have off the bench is Nas Reed. Um, I could see them. I don't think they're open to being swept by anyone in the playoffs,
Yep.
but I don't think they realistically have a chance to make that deep of a run. Um, so yeah,
Okay. Now switching gears from the NBA. Acquisition you'd like to see in the NFL offseason. So like any acquisition that you can probably go first on this. Any acquisition that you kind of want to see from any team. Um, so go ahead.
yeah. This isn't as much of an acquisition. I would like to see the Bears trade the number one overall pick.
Right.
Um, but I think that'd be a good move for them.
Right. I was thinking like Falcons to get a quarterback. Um,
Yeah,
I think that would be perfect for them. Steelers get Justin Fields if the Bears decide to trade him. Um,
yeah.
but go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. I think um the Chiefs, they need a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Um, and that was obvious this past season.
Right.
Um, I think the Falcons getting a quarterback would help. I
Yeah.
don't think Desmond Ritter is their guy. Um, I'd like to see the Panthers get a real number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
Um,
And I was kind of thinking about the Jets like if they I know Devontae Adams he I wouldn't say he's probably happy to play for a team that doesn't have a quarterback.
yeah,
But I think the Jets should go and try to get Devontae Adams. Um,
yeah,
especially with Aaron Rodgers not making a lot of money. I don't think he makes a lot of money this year. He might make a lot of next year, or this year he makes a lot of money. I
yeah.
can't
I think
remember.
so.
Um,
I
but
think
I think they
next
could.
year.
I think they could still get Devontae Adams. Change his contract, pay all a lot of money right now, and then switch the next year. Kind of with the contract
Yeah,
situation. But I know that Stephon Diggs is kind of unhappy. I like for the
yeah.
teams that don't if the Chiefs get Stephon Diggs, I don't think there are a lot of I don't
Yeah. I think that's definitely something Stephon Diggs would do.
I don't
I
think
think
the
he
Bills I don't think the Bills would want to trade him to the Chiefs.
no,
Unless it's a
but
huge haul. But
yeah,
um, you know, also there's a talking about, you know, free agency, T. Higgins. I love to see T. Higgins get signed. I think T. Higgins could be signed by the Chiefs. Obviously, he's probably going to get, you know, franchise tagged by the Bengals, but
Yeah.
and then Mike Evans, I think, is a free agent this season, this offseason. I
Yeah.
don't think he's going to sign back with the Buccaneers unless they franchise tag him. Um, if they don't, I think the Chiefs could grab him too. I'd love to see that acquisition. I think that'd be a deadly acquisition for the next. I think he's in the 12th or 13th year, 11 years in a row with 1,000 yards. I think that would be dangerous. I think he's still in his prime, just for a couple more years, 2 more years. Um, so I think those would be the perfect acquisitions for teams that need to revamp their offense. Steelers get the quarterback, Falcons get a quarterback. Um,
Yeah.
but so moving on with the NFL, we're gonna go into the same thing we did for the NBA. We're gonna go into the way too early NFL power rankings for next year. Um, for my top five, I'm gonna start at five this time. I kind of put a 5 and 6 tie because I know that the Eagles are kind of up and down. So I put Eagles slash 49ers. I know that the 49ers are going to be kind of, the salary tax and everyone that's leaving. Chase Young I think is leaving. A lot of people, they have a lot of people to cut because of the salary tax and their salary problems. I don't think they retain all of their good players that they had. A lot of their good pieces. A lot of the good players will stay under contract, like Nick Bosa and Brock Purdy and everything. But
Yeah.
I don't think they'll be as good next year. I think the year after they'll be, Super Bowl contenders again. Then the Eagles, you know, watching this year and watching them go down the hill in the playoffs, it was kind of sad. But I think I still have them at five. There's just not a lot of, um, you know, good teams that can play with them. They're gonna have to draft a center, obviously, or draft an O lineman. They're getting kind of old up front. But right now at five, I have the Eagles slash 49ers, and then number four, the Lions. If the Chiefs don't get a wide receiver, I have the Lions win it all next year. I think they're going to be
Okay.
really, really, really good next year.
Yeah.
They're really good at drafting. I think they get this draft they had Brian Branch, a lot of good players in the draft that helped. I think they're really good at drafting, and one more draft to put them over the top. Get another wide receiver. Um, they have Sam Laporta. They have Amon Ra. I think they're my favorite to win. Um, and then number three, I have the Ravens. Roquan Smith is probably my favorite. You know, he's a Bears guy. He's my favorite linebacker in the NFL. Um, and obviously the MVP. Then the Bills. There's probably I put at number two, which is that might be kind of crazy. But next year, I think their offense, the last 5 games of the season, was one of the best offenses in the rushing offense in the NFL. Um, I think that they keep their offensive coordinator, keep the same guy that was calling plays, and they play very good next year. I think they at least obviously double digit wins like this year, but I think it's like 13-3, 12-4 type of wins.
Yeah.
Um, and then I have the number one. Kind of hurts my feelings, but number one, obviously the Chiefs. They just won it all. They won it all twice in a row. I think they're the team to beat. Their defense is so good. Um, that's why I put them at number one. It's because their defense. That defense is good. Obviously, L'Jarius Sneed needs to get re-signed. Chris Jones has to get re-signed. If they lose both those
Yeah.
players, they won't be good. Especially Chris
I
Jones. They
think.
have to sign Chris Jones, or they will not be in the top five, in my opinion.
Yeah. I
He
think.
made so many impacts in the Super Bowl.
I think realistically they're only going to be able to sign um, one of those guys,
Right.
unless I know they were talking about Mahomes restructuring his contract
Right.
um, as a potential solution, but you know, realistically,
It's gonna be
for
hard
how
to sign
much,
both, for sure.
yeah, because Snead's gonna get paid a lot more,
Yep.
um, so it'll be hard to keep them both. I don't know.
Right.
Um, so for my number five, I'm thrown in kind of a dark horse. I'm going to go the Chargers.
Oh,
I think, Harbaugh's going to turn that program around. I think he's going to be able to um, bring a little bit more to their defense
right.
than, last year. Because last year their defense was awful.
Yeah,
Their
it's pretty
defense
bad.
was the reason they lost games. Number 4, I actually I'll have 5-6 Chargers Eagles.
Okay.
And then 4, um, I'll probably go with the I'll go with the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow coming back,
Right.
he'll have a big year. Um, if he stays healthy.
Yep.
3, I'd go with the Bills.
Okay.
I think. Um, I think Josh Allen. It's hard to stop Josh Allen.
Yep.
The only question mark about that organization is the Stephon Diggs situation.
Yep.
But otherwise, they've got Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox at tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Two solid guys. If they keep Stephon Diggs, they'll have one of the best receivers in the league.
Right.
And their defense was solid last year until injuries kind of caught up with them.
Yep.
2, I'll go with the Lions. I do think, they're on the come up. They're a scary team to face.
Yep. They're so
and
balanced.
I think one more draft and they're kind of at that tipping point of being able to make it.
Right.
What was I gonna say? Number 1, I think it's got to be the Chiefs.
Yep.
You can't. They went back to back, so you got to give them the flowers. You got to, acknowledge the greatness. It's tough to say, but
Yep.
it's true.
It sucks.
Um,
As a different fan of not the Chiefs, so that is
yeah.
the worst.
Yeah.
All right. So I know you wanted to talk about this, and I kind of put it as a factor cap. What if you think Teddy Bruschi? He played with Tom Brady the first 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
He said Tom Brady was carried for his first 3 Super Bowls. I'll let you go first. Do you think it's fact or cap? After kind of looking at the lineups and everything, what do you think?
I mean, let's be honest. You're not. The way he kind of talked about it, it's like you could put any quarterback there,
Right.
and they would have won. And I don't know. You can't win 3 Super Bowls in a row.
Yeah.
Like with some bum at quarterback.
Right.
Like I could understand like maybe the first one he got kind of carried. But he also won 4 more without Bruschi. Like let's calm down.
Right.
I mean, he's the GOAT for a reason. Like it's not like I don't know. He's got the stats too. Like I don't understand. Like I understand talent wise, he's not anything insane. Like he's not the greatest quarterback ever talent wise, but I mean, he's got the intangibles that like made him great.
Yeah. The mental game.
Yeah.
I kind of said it was cap, obviously. But looking at the stats, that first year he went 18 to 12, touchdown to interception ratio. But also, I mean, that's not the best. They also had a 1,000-yard rusher, but their defense was really, really good. Holding teams under 20 points a lot of the time. But that's Bill Belichick, not really Teddy Bruschi. But they started the season 0-2 with their 10-year. They just signed a 10-year contract with Drew Bledsoe, and they started 0-2. and then he got hurt. Um, so you're saying like Drew Bledsoe can't even win, 11 of those games and go to the Super Bowl like that. Obviously, Tom Brady wasn't stat wise the best quarterback that first year,
Mhm.
but he took a team, 6th round pick, took a team 11-3 as a starter, won the AFC championship, won the first with the first round bye, and then won the AFC championship um, against the Steelers, and then beat the Rams. The best show on turf. I think
Yeah.
like one of the best shows on turf. I think that shows that not every quarterback can just step in and win a game like with that
Yeah.
defense. Their defense was really good. Obviously, that's why they won games that year and the next year
Mhm.
and the next Super Bowl after that. But you got to have a great defense to win a Super Bowl. I don't think you get carried. I don't think an offensive player gets carried to a Super Bowl. I don't think that's by the defense. I don't think that's possible. Um,
Yeah.
and then after Teddy Bridgey leaves and all those players on defense leave, they get, you know, he obviously, like you said, they win 4 more, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and wins 3 more, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and wins another. Um,
Yeah.
that just shows that Teddy Bridgey just wants his flowers. I was kind of
Yeah.
confused by
It's
that. I was like, why are you he I mean, he didn't play a full season his first year. He went 18-12 touchdown pass interception ratio, and then you're gonna say that they won not because of him. You know, they won because of everybody that year and the next year after that. It was kind of a great team thing, not
yeah.
like no quarterback could just step in besides Patrick Mahomes and just win games. Like Tom Brady. Um,
Mhm.
he played the right way. He did what he was supposed to do when he needed to do it. Um, so I think that's cap. Um, I don't understand how you would say that about someone that won 7 Super Bowls. So that's kind
Yeah.
of like how would he get carried when he is the greatest of all time? He won Super Bowls for you. So that's my opinion. And
Yeah.
a lot of the Super Bowls that he won, he didn't score 50 points. Besides the Chiefs one, he you know
Yeah. No, they were
they were
grind them out.
10-3, 16-6 or something, 16-3, 20-17. It's not like he played the way he was supposed to. Tied with 2 minutes left, he went and won a game. So I don't think he was carried at all, in my opinion. So all right, kind of a shorter podcast today, but
Yeah.
pretty good discussion today. Um, go follow us on Twitter at Unscripted Takes, where we will be posting, every time we post a podcast, and obviously our unscripted takes on in Twitter as well. So, like, subscribe, everything you do. All right, thank you guys.